Hello, everybody. I am Lane Larson with Clean Claims, and today we are going to be going over our process enforcement software to help the restoration contractors, mitigation contractors, and working with the carriers or insurance companies. Biggest things to go over when we present on these is that we're trying to eliminate clicks. We're not trying to add another software. It's just to make it one more thing that you guys got to pay for and one more thing for your guys to use. On the opposite, it's actually to eliminate other softwares that you're using and replace some that you are currently using and make you guys more efficient. So biggest things that we're going to focus on in this 30 minutes is our process enforcement, what makes us different, what gets rid of human error, what allows day-to-day technicians in the field to have to document and do their jobs as mobile technicians. And then on the flip side is the ability for insurance carriers to know exactly what you're doing at all times. So we're creating that transparency that hasn't existed between the contractor and the insurance provider. So those are some of the key points of, as contractors, we're constantly trying to justify what we're doing. You know, we ripped up this carpet because of X, Y, and Z. We put these fans in here because of X, Y, and Z. And in order to get paid on those, we have to have, the insurance has to validate it. Did you really need to take out the carpet? Do you have the pictures to prove it? But as we know, we're humans and we forget to do things. As technicians, we sometimes have a lot of jobs that we're trying to get to, and we may forget to take pictures. We may forget to take readings. We may forget to do those things that we were required to do, and then cause the problem to have to go back to the job site and then, you know, add more time on trying to document when you should have done it the first time, or getting rid of the debate of, if you billed for 5 days for fans and it was legitimate, getting paid for the 5 days versus having to negotiate for the 3. So Clean Claims essentially bridges that gap and gets rid of that day-to-day argument of the he said, she said. It's 100% transparency to, if you did the job correctly, and because it forces your technicians to document the same way, then the insurance adjusters have no reason not to pay you for what you've done if you've done it all correctly. So that's what we're going to get into, of, you know, best practices. Without the documentation, it's really hard to put together estimates. Another key thing that we're going to go through is we have wireless thermal hygrometers and moisture meters. Today, I'm going to show you guys the wireless thermal hygrometers and how they work and how much that can make your efficiency go up, to getting rid of overtime, getting rid of time and a half on weekends and days, and moving those guys that are having to monitor jobs every day to actually bringing in new jobs every day. So we're going to go through the benefits of all those and how this can help your company grow and be more efficient, to be able to make more money, but then be best friends with the insurance carriers as well. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to share my screen for you guys to see. So we're going to go into a job that's you know, already been created. These are just examples that we're going through, but the biggest thing that we want to create is we want to show the importance of process enforcement and how this works. So the main thing that differentiates us from anybody else out there is what we're going to show you. So for example, in this case, we're going to add another room. The whole theme of this is that in creating the room, we have our name, our chamber name, room type. We're going to go down through the list of everything that it does. But the most important thing on every page in Clean Claims is if you hit save or next, it will not allow your technician to move on until everything is filled out correctly, and it'll highlight in red everything that's missing. And that's the theme of, if you had a piece of equipment, if the picture's not uploaded to show that equipment, it won't let you move on. If the contract hasn't been signed, you can't move on to the mitigation portion. The process enforcement literally eliminates human error, like that we all make mistakes. So we're going to go through it. So we'll create a room. We'll just say we're making a bathroom chamber. We could make this chamber the basement or chamber 1 if we wanted to. We can name it whatever we need to. If we're in different units, if we're in, you know, it depends on the project. So room type, we'll choose bathroom. Width, so let's say it's a 12 by 12. Let's say it's 6 inches and the height is 9 feet. Square feet percentage affected. So this will help calculate how many dehumidifiers and more on how many air movers that you're going to need on a project. We have the S500 recommendations throughout this project, and that was recommended to us from a few different insurance companies. But then the benefit as well is, as the contractor, one of the biggest things is hiring, firing, training, all those kinds of things. With this program, you can literally, and we've been testing it over and over, and we have clients that can advocate to this truth, that you can give a guy day one, knows nothing about restoration, or a 30-year veteran, you can hand them this software on an iPad, on a phone, tablet, whatever it is, and say, hey, I want you to go out and document this job. And they're able to do it time after time. We have so many testimonials about how easy it was for the office staff to integrate this into the company. It wasn't like a 1 month training and then they, got fired or quit, and then they have to start all over again. It's literally bring your team into this, and you can start day one getting the efficiency that you need out of that, and it makes them do it the same way every time. So it just creates that policies and procedures, and then makes you guys look good on the insurance side, that every time they get you as a customer, you're going to be documenting the same way every single time. So in here, I'm on a computer, but if you're on a mobile device, you're able to talk to text. So in the notes, we could say, bathroom, needs extraction. If this was a category 3, we need to clean and disinfect, etc. You can get as detailed as you want, 2-foot flood cuts on the walls. You get the idea. This is just the description of, in the notes for this very specific room. There is project notes, but these are the notes specifically to this room of what's going on. So then the other thing that we do is we've added videos, and they're required. So you can see that 0 of 1 videos, at least 1 needs to be uploaded. Now, if you need to add 50, you can. It just requires a minimum of 1. So this is where, if you're I'm on a computer again, so I have to pick what's on here. But if you're on a phone or tablet, you can it'll actually give you the option to either choose from library, take a video, or browse. So you're able to do that. If it's a large video and this is loading, you don't need to wait. You can keep moving on. You can see it uploaded pretty fast, but you're able to move on to now the before pictures. So enough images to show the 360 degrees of the affected room. So in this case, it's 0 of 3. Now it requires at least 3 pictures of the room, so you're getting different angles. But again, take 50 if you like. There's no limit. It just gives you at least a minimum to be able to add those pictures. So in this case, we'll just add some pictures of an old job for showing you guys how this works. So we'll add these pictures in here, showing kind of the before images of what's going on. So the beauty of this is then, if the adjuster can't get there, you're able to walk them through with these before videos of what's going on. In this case, with this video, you can see also is that as this is being created, everything that is done in the system is time stamped. So that way, if the fans were there for really 3 days, you have the proof and documentation to prove that they were 3 days. It timestamps when you dropped equipment, it timestamps when you picked it up, it timestamps when you took your first readings, it timestamps when you took your last readings. So this is a good example of a video of walking around with the FLIR camera, showing that the carpet is wet, that that everything going on. This was a category 3 loss, that, hey, the carpet needs to come out because it was a category 3. We had sewage. So it's just a really nice thing to create, to show the insurance companies, to show the adjusters, to show the homeowners that what you're doing needs to be done. And then instead of arguing with the adjuster on the back end, did you really need to pull up that carpet? Well, obviously in that video, you can see that it was wet and it was a category 3. Now we have in the readings right here before FLIR images. So this would be, again, pulling out the FLIR where we saw in that video. You would be taking pictures as well to prove that it was wet. So then we add our images there. We go through right here, and now we're asking for initial readings. So say it's 71 degrees in this room, and because it's wet, we'll say it's a high humidity of 60%. We have factored in and added the algorithms. We found in working with a lot of different restoration companies that some companies don't have the thermal hygrometers with the GPP vapor pressure options. So we've added in all the algorithms that we used to have to chart out back in the day with the psychrometric reading charts. Now, just with the temperature and humidity in here, we've auto-calculated the dew point, the GPP, vapor pressure, thirst, and also grain depression. So again, in order to get rid of the he said, she said, are those really accurate readings? You're going to take a picture of it to prove that that's what you typed in there, that that's what it is. So now in here, we get into the materials of what's the moisture. So we have a drop down list, but then you can get as specific as you need to. If it was drywall on the west wall, on the north wall, whatever it is, you can get way specific behind the vanity. However detailed you want to get on this description, and it'll save it as that. So we can say that it was 100% wet on the drywall. And then again, you have to take a picture to prove that that's what it's saying. It's just, again, backing the information that you guys are putting in there and doing. So we show a picture showing that it's wet. Now, when we hit save, it'll save the whole entire bathroom that we've created and the chamber that it's put in. Now we have this, if you want to see every room, you can, but if you just want to see what's in this chamber, this is on a default. And then if you want to see what's in this chamber, then these are the rooms. And you can add and change these as you are going through the job if you need to make any changes. And then in here, it calculates the dehumidifiers of how many you need per chamber based off the cubic feet. So in this case, on the dehumidifiers, we have the recommendation based off the S500, what it recommends and why, and the sizes of dehumidifier with how many pints per day it's going to pull. So same thing on the air movers. When you get into the room and in the affected square feet, it totals it up for you automatically, and then it gives you those air mover calculations. So again, based off the S500, what it recommends, here's all the recommendations of why you need 2 to 3 fans or air movers in this location. So the nice part about that is we can see that now here's in the mitigation tab, we've now got our before videos, pictures and images of the affected area and the FLIR readings. And then once we get to like completion, then we can add in the after, which again are required. It makes your technicians have to take these readings. So the nice part is we're in the chamber one right here, and you can see the requirements in the room. So when we click on these requirements, this will give the technician, and this is great with the color coding and the confirmations, to let your technician easily see what he's done, he or she has done and completed, and what they have left to do. So in this case, we can see that everything that we've done is in green and it's done. We know we need to add the equipment. So let's click on that button, and it takes us right to the equipment tab, and it's pulsating at you where you need to add the equipment. So in this case, we'll click add equipment. Let's add the air movers, and you can see right here off to the side, it says 2 to 3. So we can put 2 or 3 in there. And then again, we're taking pictures to prove what we've done. So I mean, if you can fit all 3 air movers in this picture, for instance, then great. Just take the one picture to show all 3 are in there. If you can't and need to take more, then add more photos into there. You can add as many as you want again. So in this case, it's just requiring as many photos as it takes to put those air movers in that picture. So we'll click OK. We now can see that we've added our air movers in here. Let's go in here and add a dehumidifier. We'll do 1. Again, we got to take a picture to prove what we're doing. We'll use this picture. We'll hit OK. And now we have our equipment placed in that room. The nice part to keep track for the contractors and the insurance carriers is, instead of trying to figure out where the dehumidifier is, whenever you add it in a room, it'll tell you where it's been added. So if we need to add, it'll pull in green right here. So if we need to add an air filtration device, same thing. We have the air filtration device, we'll put 1. And again, it requires you to take a picture. And again, if we were on a phone or a tablet, you'd be able to take the photo. You'd have the option to take the picture or choose from your photo library. So we'll add 1 right here, and we'll click OK. And then there's our equipment that's specifically in this room. The person that placed it, the dates and times that it was placed. And then again, now it's showing that the AFD is in this bathroom and in this chamber specifically. So if we want to click on that chamber, that's where it is, or we can show all. So the beauty is this is just organizing, and you create it. You know, we've kind of joked around that we call this the McDonald's of restoration. So every time you guys do this, no matter what state you're in, what technician's using it, you get the same results every single time, which builds a reputation of consistency for you guys with the insurance carriers, making it easier to get paid out and easier to make sure that everybody's on the same page of what's happening, and it gets rid of again, the he said, she said. So in this case, we'll click on the requirements. We need to pick up the equipment. We can click on that again. Now you can either pick these up individually if we're monitoring the job, and on day 2, we can see that it's drying and we don't need all the equipment. Then we can pick it up, and again, it'll check it off and it'll say who picked it up, timestamp, date and time, and then the person that picked it up, the individual. Now, if we want to pick them all up, you can have the option to pick up all. You can click yes. On the dehumidifier, we'll say we're done. Yes, we want to pick it up. All the equipment, yes. Then we can come back up to the requirements and see that pick up all equipment is done. We've checked that off. We're good to go. We'll say we're on day 3, for example, and we're taking another reading, but we haven't reached the dry standard. So by taking the reading and showing that we are at 60%, we're going to take the next reading showing that, here's the temperature. Now we're down to about 35%. Again, we're going to take a picture to prove what we're doing. And then just to show you guys on every one of these, if I click OK, I can't move on unless I have a picture to document and prove what I've done. So again, you come in here, you select the photo, and now you can click OK, and it'll let you move on. And it saves it in chronology in order of the job start to finish. So here's our day 1 readings with our date and time. Here's our day, 2 or 3 that we're talking about, like that, hey, we've reached the dry standard. And now, and because based off the dry standard in here at 32% that we made up or the reading of an unaffected area, then we know that we're getting to our goal. So in this room, now in the requirements, you can see the numbers drop from 5 to 4 because it's showing that we've reached the dry standard. Dehumidifier reading is required. So when we've added it in this room, we have to take a dehumidifier reading to show what it's reading out. So let's just put we could put it's coming out 103 degrees at 21%. And again, you have to take a picture of a thermal hygrometer proving what the dehumidifier is doing. So you get the idea, hopefully, in explaining this recorded presentation of the process. It literally, you don't have to send out, the technicians can't forget anymore. There's no more excuses of I didn't have time, I had to run to the next job, I had to do this. We're literally talking in the experiments we've done and added 5 minutes of documenting of what already needs to be done, but because it requires the guys to do it, it saves hours on the back end for the office staff making the phone calls, for the managers getting after their technicians for missing this information and then taking the time to drive back out to these job sites. It gets rid of all that back end headache. And literally by adding 5 more minutes of required documentation, it gets rid of the human error, and they have to document the same way every single time. So you have the scope of work in here that you can add contents and water extraction, everything that you need to do inside of a job. Now, what I want to show you guys now is the wireless thermal hygrometers and the accuracy. We've been testing these and have had against the best thermal hygrometers in the world, and we are spot on. We are the most accurate wireless thermal hygrometers on the market that you can find. So I'll give you an example. We did a flood house, and we're experimenting with these while we were in beta testing and using these. And we've created all these rooms, and you can see, like we were explaining, where the dehumidifiers are. You can see that, this job was completed, so everything's in green. But then we want to come down and show you, I've showed you the manual way to enter in readings, but it's an either or. So if you have the sensors, you click on sensor readings, and then this is what you get. So in this case, this is the outside temperature we could show you. And you can see the chart on the bottom and what it's reading out. Now, the lifespan on these sensors have been on for 8 months. They use AA batteries, and 8 months is the longest we've gone so far. And we're going to keep it going because we want to see how long the batteries will last in taking readings. So on the bottom right here, you can see the time, temperature, relative humidity, and it's all color coded. Relative humidity is kind of that yellow, GPP is purple, dew points red, vapor pressure, thirst, and then grain depressions being added. In this case, when we scroll along here, you can see that you can see the date and time and the temperature that it is in this case, outdoors. So we have the sensor set currently, in this case, to take readings every 10 to 15 minutes. And you can see we have 60 pages of readings that have been collected over a few days of this project. So in this case, we'll go into, I'll show you a great example of how being able to, the advantage of having these sensors and knowing what your equipment's doing. So in the master bedroom on the dehumidifier, we had set up this equipment. The original day was March 3rd at 10 a.m. And again, if we want to see that, we can come over and click on the very end and see that right there, March 3rd at 10 a.m. It was at 54%, 71 degrees in this room. Or on this dehumidifier, right, as it was firing up. You can see it how it took about, you know, the temperature rising up to, you know, where it's up to 110, 114 degrees. So with this chart, you can see how it's going up and down and all over the place on this dehumidifier. Well, what was interesting is that when we set these up, I'll come back to page 1, is if you see on the bottom left or down here on the bottom where on the temperature, I want you to pay attention to the time and temperature and humidity when I'm on this chart. So we can see right here, we're at 111 degrees at 4:35 p.m. The dehu's been running great, 21%. And then all of a sudden, when we come to 5 o'clock, I got an alert on my phone showing that something drastic has happened in the atmosphere, in the temperature, that the dehumidifier had something changed drastically. So at 5 o'clock, the dehumidifier shut off. You can see it's at 84 degrees and the relative humidity shot back up to 65%. And then we see this, so I got the alert, didn't say anything. I was just watching it because it was just in a flood house and I figured we could figure it out the next day. So I'm watching this all night and I can see like, okay, it's starting to go back up and like, okay, it's shooting up right here. It gets to 105 and then boom, it drops back down to 80, 86 degrees and the temperature and the humidity's high. So you can see this all night, these peaks and valleys of the dehumidifier essentially turning on and off. We get here to in the morning and we can see that it's starting to rise again because we ended up finding out the problem in the morning when we got there is that somebody had placed the AFD on top of the condensation line that gets rid of all the water out of the dehumidifier. So this dehumidifier all night was trying to kick on and then it was shutting off as it was when it would try to pump and purge out. So all night it was going on and off trying to turn on. But this was an amazing experiment to see that if a homeowner unplugged your equipment, it would alert you saying that something's changed, that the environment, something's different about the temperature of the humidity, and you would be able to know what's going on in real time. So this is just a good example to show, to be able to monitor your equipment and what it's doing. And this again was on the dehumidifier in the master bedroom. And I knew right at 5 o'clock, I received an alert that specifically on this job, in the master bedroom, that there was a problem with the dehumidifier. And anyway, in the next morning when we came in, that was what we discovered, is that the line had been pinched and that way it couldn't drain. And so it was shutting on and off all night. So it's just a great way of showing that if a homeowner unplugs your equipment, if the equipment's not running properly, like it was in this case, or something happened, you would know and be able to fix that problem versus letting it sit and coming back and finding out about when it's too late. We could have fixed this problem at 5 o'clock when I got the alert on my phone saying that something was wrong at 5 o'clock because the temperature dropped drastically from 110 degrees at 4:55 to 84 degrees at 5 p.m. So in 5 minutes, it was able to show us what was happening. So the beauty of this too is then you can watch the progress of the room. So we can go into the dining room and see the sensors. All these sensors are per room. So we can see the progress, the dates and times. We can go all the way through this and see what's happening. We can pick on the page which days we want to look at. You know, if we want to go all the way back to the very first day and see what the readings were, or just scrolling through here and being able to see it on the chart. So the beauty of this is that the adjusters are able to see this in real time. When you fill out the insurance information in the sales call, under the insurance information, when you add the adjuster email here, he'll get a link to see this job in real time. He's able to see it. It helps him to where he doesn't really have to come out, he or she doesn't have to come out to the job. They're able to see what's going on in real time. They can watch your videos from before, after, everything going on, so that it creates that transparency that's never existed in our industry and literally gets rid of those headaches of the he said, she said, and arguing over what they're paying for, what they're not paying for, what you're trying to collect, what, you know, all those different things. It eliminates it. And then you can factor in also on the contractor side, getting rid of a lot of the fuel costs, overtime, time and a half, the after hours things, you know, guys being on call, letting them focus on the 10 jobs that came in versus having to monitor these jobs and then not being able to have the time. And then again, going into that argument with the insurance of like, well, you had the equipment there for 5 days, but there's only 3 days of readings and that's all we're going to pay for. That's the beauty of the software. There's a million things I'd love to show you guys on, and will, for the time that we've been allotted. This is the two main things I wanted to show you guys is the process enforcement, the training aspect of how easy it is to just hand a technician this and say, do your job, that everybody has their own login. The subscription isn't based off of per person. That way that you can have as many users as needed in your company, because we don't want people sharing passwords and logins, because then it then confuses who's doing what. So in this case, you're able to know that I was the last one in here making changes or doing anything. I mean, in this job, I haven't made any, but in the last one that we were just creating. So we'll come back into here so you can see in this one that we did, it was me that did this last, you know, on the date, March 16th, 2021, at 5:49 p.m. So anyway, it goes through. This is for this room. Sorry, this is a few days ago. And then in here, you can see this is what was done today. So this is what's going on. And then on the home page, being able to see when it was last done. So if we look at this job, John Smith, we named, this is when it was the date it was created. But then we know right here that today that Lane was here, and you're able to go in here and discover that on who did what last. So that's our product overview. We are Clean Claims. This is just barely touching the surface of what we do as a process enforcement software. When you send these PDFs to adjusters, it makes their life easier. They're interactive PDFs. If we go to a completed job, the PDF, they can download this on their own computer from the link. You wouldn't have to send it through the PDF unless you run into a firewall situation to where you can't. But this would be the contractor's logo, their information here, picture of the front of the home, copy of your contract, and then this is where it gets into the interactive portion of the table of contents in this project. Sorry, excuse me. So in here, this is where you can interact and you can decide, okay, well, I want to know how much equipment was on this job. Okay, well, I can click on equipment. I can see we're in the laundry room. This is what we were just kind of messing around with, and we can see the dates in here. For training purposes, obviously, these are the same dates and times, but it'll calculate the days that it was there. And then every single page break has a back to table of contents button. So if I want to see the before video, you're able to click on that. If you want to see the project notes, you're able to click and see those notes of what's going on. It makes it interactive, makes it really easy for the adjuster to do this. And then you're able to send this in one PDF. You don't have to send Dropbox with 50 million pictures and videos in it. You're able to connect to the Matterport or the DocuSketch in here if you need to. Like, you can integrate all this in here. So again, we are Clean Claims. We would love to go into more detail with you guys. If you go to cleanclaims.com and just click on request a demo, we have the calendar that links to our accounts, and you can request a demo. We can go in way more in depth on the things that we do as a company and how we can help you become more efficient, become best friends with the insurance carriers, and just be able to get rid of the day-to-day headaches of human error, people forgetting things. We all do it. I'm guilty of it. It creates that efficiency and that transparency that's never existed. So thank you for the time. We really look forward to working with you and speaking with you guys in the future and going into more depth on a demonstration of Clean Claims from start to finish. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the conference.